Welcome back to the channel, guys. One of the guys in Discord sent me this video from Gameology. They had some gun specialists on reacting to some of the guns in Insurgency Sandstorm. I made it about 10 minutes in, and I had to make a reaction video. That's not what this channel is. I couldn't let something this stupid go by without making a video about it. So, yeah. Let's get started.
That's nothing I ever worked with. You never had any of the side ones where you could kind of change the magnification.
It's great. Have you ever seen one of those drum magazines in the field? To reload that in the field, like forget it. Wrapping the sling around and like getting a tight angle
Pulling
on it.
it
Like
in,
there.
yeah.
Like they've gone through and picked the most expensive accessories you could possibly put on, but
Right.
it's great.
That's what
This
you
is
do.
a lucky guy.
Not familiar.
No, I have not used this one. Sorry.
Okay, so just in the intro, it looks like they went through and found the dumbest parts of the video and turned it into the intro. I assure you they didn't. But that's just what it looks like. It's a shit show from the beginning. So let's get back into it. This is something special.
Hey everybody, I'm Israel Wright. I'm a former Green Beret stationed out of Fort Lewis, Washington, and I was deployed to Iraq in 2008. Welcome to Total Recoil, a brand new series where we explore weapons, the military, video games, and everything in between. My very special guest here is Captain Lars Whalen. Ship's captain specializes in high-risk sub-sea construction. Did I get that right? Okay,
That's
good.
right. Yeah.
And he's worked with special forces units from all over the world for over 20 years, and we're really happy to have him here.
I'm really excited. This is going to be cool.
Today we're going to be looking at Insurgency Sandstorm. Now, Cameron and I in the Experts React arena have
Okay. So, a couple things to note there. He was a ship's captain doing undersea construction. I'm not sure what all's involved with that, but it doesn't sound like he was doing much work behind a rifle. Ship captain, hard job. I couldn't do it. But is he really the expert for this subject? I've done a little bit of training, not a lot. I'm not an expert, but compared to these guys, I am. I'm not gonna lie. Actually, during my CWP class, one of the guys there was one ex-military guy, and he had the lowest scores in the entire class. So just because someone's in the military doesn't mean they know what they're talking about, or that they're good with a gun. With the exception of like some boots on the ground, door kickers, infantry stuff, or some SOCOM guys, but even some of the SOCOM guys, their focus isn't on the weapons themselves, it's doing their job, and the guns are just like part of the tool, but they're not experts on the tools themselves. The guys that are experts on the tools themselves are generally civilians. So, let's see what they have to say.
Really excited. This is going to be cool.
Today we're going to be looking at Insurgency Sandstorm. Now, Cameron and I in the Experts React arena have already kind of looked at this from a tactical point of view, but today we're going to get real granular. We're going to go down and dirty with all the weapons and all the attachments and things like that used in the game.
Yeah, I heard this game is really realistic, so I'm looking forward to this. It should be fun to really get into it and see what it's like.
Okay, cool blend of gameplay and real life shooting.
Colt M4A1 14.5 inch with EOTech XPS Plus G33 combo, flashlight, TD stubby foregrip, and Magpul Stanag magazines. That all sounds like stuff that I worked with actually, especially the EOTech.
Yeah, couldn't buy that in the civilian world.
Yeah, right. Not in California.
No.
Wait one. Headphones back on real quick. I'm not worried about it. So, this is my rifle. This is my home defense rifle I use for home defense, range toy, that kind of thing. So, They say you can't buy that in the civilian world. Pretty much the only difference between that gun and this one is right here, the happy switch. I don't have one. But they're really here to talk about the accessories and the mods on the guns. Everything on there you can buy civilian. So I'm running red dot, flip up magnifier. Just mine's a Vortex instead of an EOTech. Sig red dot. Got a flashlight. I even have a can. I haven't gotten far enough for them to say anything about cans in the video yet, but I'm sure they're going to think having a can on a gun is like super cool and weird, and that no one would have that. But essentially my build, aside from having fully automatic capability, is functionally the same as that rifle. And a civilian. So, yeah. Okay, let's get back into this. I threw it on the bed, don't worry, it's fine. Oh god, I lost my place. I'll find it.
Special Forces units from all over the world for over 20 years. M4A1 14.5 inch with EOTech XPS Plus G33 combo, flashlight, TD stubby foregrip, and Magpul Stanag magazines. That all sounds like stuff that I worked with, actually, especially the EOTech.
Yeah, couldn't buy that in the civilian world.
Yeah, right. Not in California.
No, definitely not here.
What's that on the side? Is that?
I think that's got to be like an elevation and windage, right? Because there's no optics in it.
Yeah.
Let me roll that back a little bit for you.
And windage, right? Because
oh, not far enough.
Tech.
yeah, couldn't buy that in the civilian world.
Yeah, right. Not in California.
No, definitely not here.
What's that on the side? Is that?
I think that's.
This is a gun expert. It's that. It's the flippy magnifier. The way it works is looking down the sight like that. It's no magnification. Flop that over. 3x magnification. So, yeah. That's pretty basic kit. It's actually something that is getting annoying for me because it's not quite good enough for what I want to do. I want to switch over to an LPVO, which we'll get to that later. Back to the video.
It's got to be like an elevation and windage, right? Because there's no optics in it.
Yeah.
I like the heads-up display. That's great. Those are my favorite ones where you get like a little bit of magnification.
Heads-up display? I mean, it's not right. It's not a heads-up display. But I can kind of see it there. It's functionally, it does some of the same stuff. But this is an expert. Sorry. Specialist. That doesn't know what a red dot is. In this case, a holographic sight. Yeah.
You know, so he's probably got 2 or 3 times on that, and to be able to look through, and then still, if you like want to close one eye, you can get a little bit of magnification.
That's just not true. There's no magnification with a holographic sight. There just isn't. Also, the reason games, so Arma specifically, when you can kind of zoom in your vision a little bit on a red dot, it's not because the red dot's magnifying it, it's to kind of simulate focusing and eliminating some of the peripheral distractions. So you can kind of focus in a little bit better. It helps simulate how the human eye can focus on things a little bit better. So, That's what that is. It's not actually magnifying anything.
Wow, the graphics are outstanding.
This looks
Right.
a lot like what I worked with, but that was like 10 years ago. We had EOTech, we had the stubby foregrips.
We were just getting heads up, just to experiment with though. Like it wasn't standard issue. Some good cover in that building. It was all cement, you know. Like I was.
Colt M4A1 14.5 inch with aim point micro T2 plus G33 combo, flashlight, TD stubby foregrip, and Magpul Stinig mags.
I really like the flashlight. That's the best, you know. So useful. You probably
They are.
don't need it today.
And now we got a smaller
Yeah.
EOTech on the top there, a red
Yep.
dot.
Did he just call that an EOTech? That actually is closer to what I have on mine, though. But EOTech? These guys are supposed to be specialists. Like, they're supposed to know this stuff. Why? This is why I drink.
Dot sign.
Yeah, the same adjustment on the side though. That's interesting.
The M4A1, that was my primary weapon. That was what we shot with. Oh, he flips it up. It's a mag. It's a
Oh,
magnification.
Yeah, that's so cool. The same adjustment on the side though. That's interesting.
The M4A1, that was my primary weapon. That was what we shot with. Oh, he flips it up. It's a mag. It's a
Oh,
magnification.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's nothing I ever worked with. You never had any of the side ones where you could kind of change the magnification.
No, that's great. Especially with the little range like that. I've got the civilian version of this, the Bushmaster flat top, you know.
These I
Okay, so they finally figured out what that thing does. That took a while. I mean, I guess if you've never seen one or ever played a video game ever, watched a John Wick movie, I think John Wick may have had one in it, or been to any gun range ever, you might not know what it is, but again, these are supposed to be guys that know what they're talking about. I'm a civilian, like, I work in a parts store. I sell parts for cars. I know more about guns than these guys combined. Like, get better experts. Jesus.
SMC guys, they look like they know what they're doing. Those are really cool mods. HK
Unlike them.
416 14.5 inch barrel showcase. Customization.
Nice. Heckler and Koch makes great weapons.
This is still an
Heckler and Koch.
M4, right? Just different customizations with HK. Is that what we're talking about? No, it's not an M4 anymore.
It's not, no, because I think it's shooting a 308, right? Have you ever seen one of those drum magazines?
These guys worked with Special Forces. The 416 is one of the most common guns for Special Forces, as far as I know. I don't know, I'm not Special Forces, but I'm pretty sure they use a lot of them, from what I've heard. I can find 12-year-olds that play Xbox that know what a 416 is. It's very similar to an M4, except it's gas piston instead of direct impingement. It is not a 308. It is a 5.56 gun. There's the 417, which is 308, but that's not what this is. So no, the Heckler and Koch 416 is not a 308.
In the field?
No, never used the big drums. No, we
It's
never
too
had
heavy,
to.
it's too bulky, and they're like finicky. Like, you know, I wouldn't want to.
That's true.
No, I don't know. We were never in a situation
Sometimes.
where we had to throw that many rounds that quickly. You know, a 30-round magazine, we would have a set of 6 or 7, you know, that we would go out with, and that would be enough.
To reload that in the.
If I remember right, the host of this is also Special Forces. As far as I know, most Special Forces guys go out with closer to 10 mags. As far as I know, standard combat load for Army infantry for like your regular boots on the ground guy is 210 rounds or 7 mags total. So if he was running with 6, he was undergunned. Is that the word? It's the word I'm using. It's close enough. But yeah, these guys, come on. They do make a good point about the drums, though. Drum magazines. The best way to use a drum magazine is, say you have a wall hanger gun. Slap a drum mag in it. It's downloaded a little bit, like Surefire 60, not Surefire. The Magpul one. I don't remember the name of it, but like slap one of those in, it'll run great. And then after that, just use 30 rounders because of the spring pressure. When you go to load in a full drum mag into a gun, it's really difficult to get it to actually seat properly. So that's one of those things that they're kind of right, but also they have their place.
To reload that in the field, like, forget it. Of course,
Yeah.
you're not really carrying around boxes of ammunition. But
Yeah, maybe if you're in a squad
No.
and you're the guy, maybe that's your purpose to have that drum, and then that's it. You know what I mean?
in the early 90s, I was working with this guy who ran a plastics company that was testing variations of weapons for special forces. We were testing soft packs. So they're like chain fit for the M4, but a little soft canvas bag that clipped on and it ran right through. It'd be like 100 rounds in a small sack like that, It's pretty
For the
neat.
M4, that's wild.
But it never made it out, so
Yeah.
I guess it didn't work.
So I'm out of my depth on this one. But as far as soft pack does exist for belt feds, like a 249. I think the 240 has soft pack as well. I know it exists in Arma, so it probably exists in real life. Don't quote me on that. But I can't think of a mechanism that would allow soft pack ammo to run through an AR. Unless you're running like a fight light upper. And at that point, is it really an AR? There's so much modification going on that it's not really an M4 platform. You're getting into weird custom stuff, semi-custom. So, I don't think he's talking about something for an M4. He's probably talking about soft pack for like a 2. Entirely possible. Same rounds. But that one's not my area of expertise because your boy can't afford belt feds.
That looks like a wider magazine. Like it almost like
it's
funnels
double
up.
stacked.
Yeah, it like bottlenecks up. That looks like a wider.
It's
For
pretty
the
neat.
M4, that's wild.
But it never made it out, so
Yeah.
I guess it didn't work.
That looks like a wider magazine. Like it almost like
it's
funnels
double
up.
stacked.
Yeah,
So,
it like
Surefire
bottlenecks
60?
up. Yeah, like maybe like a 40 round or something
It's
like
been
that.
around
Totally
since
could
like
be a 40 round.
what,
It looks
80s or
just longer
90s?
than a regular 30, huh?
Right.
Quad stack.
Ah.
Look at that.
60 round quad
Jesus.
stack. Okay, there we go. HK 416, 14 and a half with Giselle handguard and charging handle, ACOG with ACSS reticle, and top-mounted RMR, offset flashlight, Magpul angled foregrip, and Surefire 60-round quad stack magazine. Sounds like a
60
dream.
rounds.
That's a pretty good build if you knew how to pronounce any of the parts on it. Giselle trigger or Giselle whatever. It's Geisley. Jesus Christ.
Quad stacks, so you got to think of all 4 of those stacks feeding in together, man.
Right.
I'd be a little worried about the reliability of that. Especially as you're like jostling around trying to get them to lace into each other as they go up the stack.
Right. I mean, that's what I've always heard. The difference between the AK.
There
and
were
like
some
something
issues
like
with the early ones with
and the
that, but
M4.
I think they've
M4
pretty
is
much
very
got them
precision,
sorted.
more precise, but also finer instrument. You got to take a little bit better care of it.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
AK
Much tighter
is-
tolerances
exactly.
than that AK. You could put the AK in mud and fire it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. That.
Ian and Carl have entered the chat. So if anybody still thinks that the AK is so much more reliable than the AR, it's just not. That myth really came down to the shitty ammo that the government gave soldiers in Vietnam that wasn't to the spec the guns were designed for, so it just didn't run right. And then they gave them bad ammo, and they just didn't give them cleaning kits. Because, oh yeah, it's great. It doesn't need to be cleaned, because guns need to be cleaned. Not as often as your drill sergeant told you, but they do need to be cleaned. My AR, let's bring it back out, because she's pretty. This hasn't been cleaned in, I'm not going to lie, I don't clean it very often, because if it still works, there's not really any reason to clean it. But, give you an idea of how dirty it is. That was just off the side of the carry. I trust this rifle with my life. I would take this into a combat zone tomorrow. So, I have never once had an issue out of this rifle in a couple thousand rounds. Aside from some magazine related issues, I had a hex mag that was just dumping ammo and causing some double feeds. Never had any issues. This is runs dirty, runs pretty dry. She's a champ. The AK is not that much more reliable than an AR. It's also pretty much as accurate as an AR. The only real benefit, actually I'll get into that later. Fuck it. Yeah, so that's that.
Nice, but also finer instrument. You got to take a little bit better care of it.
That's right.
AK
Much tighter tolerance.
Exactly.
Than that AK, you could put the AK in mud and fire it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. That foregrip, see, I love that angled foregrip what we were talking about. I've never used anything like that before.
No, it's nice. It kind of like wrapping the sling around and like getting a tight angle
Pulling
on it.
it
Like
in, yeah. The charging handle
Okay, Boomer.
is like super slick.
So he's got
That's true.
just a straight optical scope underneath and then the red dot on top.
Yeah, stacked on top.
So you must have to like flip up that lens cover.
Anything you're noticing about
Flip up the lens cover. I'm gonna just leave that there. I'm sure you know. I hope you know.
recoil or anything like that?
The recoil looks pretty realistic to me.
Yeah.
Pretty
tight, pretty cool, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
everyone's got
about how mine runs.
I'm sure.
Daniel Defense M4 Block 2 with Night Force, ATA CR LPVO scope, CAG hand stop, and Magpul Stenag magazines.
This looks like an expensive system. Like they've gone through and picked the most expensive accessories you could possibly put on, but it's great. This is a lucky guy.
You got magnification there.
Yep.
That's how you build a gun. It's like
I like
the
the
best
lot
stuff
of
you can
information there.
put on there
To write the numbers going
is the
down.
right stuff to put on
They're
there.
actually symbols. So I'm guessing
You just count them off as you're like looking at windage.
and then the up and down is just going to be the elevation.
It let you do it on the fly without actually making an adjustment using all that information on the screen.
cool.
Be my guess.
I love it.
The only thing is like this guy is shooting through a lot of stuff that I'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna give the bullet the opportunity to tumble once it goes through one of those palm fronds or whatever.
Right.
Oh, very effective.
Their gun expert just spent 30 seconds or so trying to figure out what holdovers are in a scope. That's like second day of shooting through a scope is okay. So it's zeroed, you put the thing on the thing you want to hit. Okay, it's windy today. Let's just, see that dot, one down, two right? Just kind of put that over what you want to hit, and then you hit it. That's basic shit. They should know this. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Really cool, really slick. If you're looking for like a real world kind of mil sim experience for a video game, that's it.
If you're planning an operation, if you could get the building on this and just run the guys through before you actually go in.
Right.
Like you'd have so much better familiarity as you enter the building.
There's got to be some unit somewhere.
Someone's
that
doing
has a
it,
land party. Yeah.
Yeah. So much cheaper than like actually building the building, at least to get started, you know?
AK-12 showcase.
I don't think that would work, honestly. I think by the time you have enough information to know what the inside of a structure is that you're going to be breaching, unless you have some like really good 3D scans of the inside from when it was built or something, you're not. It's not going to work. You'd basically have to have someone go in there and measure shit and scan everything. You wouldn't be realistic. All you'd be doing is basically saying, hey, this is the layout, and then when they get there, the layout's different. You're actually doing more harm than good. I don't think that would work.
Well, AK-47 is like, that's the one, but AK is obviously the designation.
Yeah, that's that guy. Kalashnikov, yeah. Kalashnikov.
They got a movie about him, Rob. Did you know that?
Okay, Russians
I
call
haven't
it.
It's called
I'm not gonna
AK,
give
the
a shit
story
about
of
that.
whatever,
Really?
whatever. It's a fairly new movie.
Is this 12 gauge version of this? I'm not sure.
You get like half the accuracy with these AKs, but maybe higher reliability than the ARs
Half?
So too,
and
yeah.
4s.
AK-12
Half?
with loophole hammer scope plus delta red dot on top. Zenit Co. RK0.
Brandon Herrera would be incredibly disappointed. It's not half. It's like 97%. The only real benefit the AR has in terms of accuracy is the rotating bolt. So accuracy comes down to consistency. And the more consistent your lockup, the more accurate your rifle is going to be, right? So, on this, see those lugs? There's, what, 10 of them? 7. 7 lugs. And they rotate into place and lock. The more lugs you have, the more consistent it is. That's just how rifles work. The AK doesn't have as many locking lugs. I'm not super familiar with the AK platform. Not something I mess with a lot. But this thing is going to fight me. I'm trying to talk and assemble my gun at the same time. I'm not very good at this. You know what? That can sit right there. That's the main benefit the AR has in terms of accuracy. Everything else boils down to really build quality. And an AK that's been treated like shit for the last 40 years, probably not going to be super accurate, but that's probably because the barrel's been shot out. And an AR, they have pretty regular maintenance in military armories. Not great, but it's better than like the random AK you're going to find in the Pakistani mountains. So, kind of true, but that AR or that AK you're going to find in the mountains, probably not going to be as reliable as an AR. So,
AK-12 with loophole hammer scope plus delta red dot on top. Zenit Co. RK04 grip, offset flashlight, bake light.
these aren't parts on.
That's my curiosity when it comes to different manufacturers. Is like a
I
red
like that
dot sight's a
reticle.
red dot sight, right? Like, I mean, maybe small
Kinda.
variations, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on like different kinds of ACOGs, different kinds of laser sights, things like that?
Well, I think, as a unit, it's going to be real important that you have some interchangeability there, especially anything that's got a battery like this. You really don't want to have multiple types of batteries. I mean, this is slick.
There's not that
slick,
many.
and it's great. I'm sure it's terrific.
There's only
As
a couple
far as,
batteries that you're really gonna
using
come
one
across.
versus the other, for me, it's like, how well is it going to take that recoil before its reticle starts to drift off a little bit there?
Good point. Yeah.
It's just how well the shock absorption is in there. Because some of these are meant for, small arms. Like, you can't put a 22 see-through sight on there and then expect it to hold the recoil of a 308 or a
Right.
7.62.
MA110A2 in 6.5
buy good
millimeter
shit.
Creedmoor.
Get
ACOG
quality stuff, it'll hold
ACSS
up.
reticle. RMR on top.
Unless you have a
Zenit
scar.
Go RK04 grip. Peak 15 and a flashlight. And then
It's
a 30
PEC
round
15.
PMags. We worked with PMags. That's the type of magazine that sounds familiar to me.
So when
They're
you
good
were in the
mags.
field, did you
That's
ever
what I use
have like
mostly.
anybody bring in their own?
The only thing that we were allowed to personalize in terms of our gear, we could go to Tactical Tailor outside of Tacoma, Washington. We could get pouches, all
Okay.
sorts of pouches for our
I do like
Molly gear and
Tactical
things
Tailor.
like
They
that.
have some cool
we weren't
stuff.
allowed any kind of latitude when it comes to
I don't
like
really use
sights
any,
and different
but
things like
they
that
have
because
some
it
cool
all
stuff.
had to be uniform.
Sure, yeah.
Because we all had to be able to understand it and interchange it and stuff
yeah.
like that. That interchangeability between the
right.
units and stuff. Some
That
guys
is really
had
important.
alternate sidearms. There were a couple 1911s out there that I saw.
Yeah.
We had the standard kind of like 9mm Beretta when we were out there. But no, not a lot of interchangeability when it comes to like the sights and the grips and things like
They
that.
probably limited you to NATO rounds, though, right? Like if you're going to use a different sidearm, it's still got to be in the NATO family, so
Yep.
that they've got it available.
Exactly, yeah.
That's cool.
AK-103 with PSO-1 illuminated scope and AK PMAX.
I like that reticle too. I kind of like to have a little bit of light in there, you know.
Just a little offset with the color and stuff like that, or
Yeah, so
illuminated?
like that's going to be an illuminated reticle. So even if it's kind of low light, you're
Reticle?
not going to struggle to find the cross.
This one's a little easier to read too.
Let us know in the comments what you think about all this kind of fancy stuff. If you worked with it or not, what do you think? SA-58, OSW,
You don't
and
wanna know about that.
Trigicon ACOG with RMR on top and flashlight and CAG hand stop.
I like
This
the
one's interesting. It's got a quick
release,
detach
or
sight
quick
off the
detachment.
top rail there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, swap it out pretty quickly if you needed to.
I wonder about like
won't
with the
need
height of that, because there's not going to be like a chin rest on in the field.
Right,
So,
you're
like,
gonna have
get your
to-
face up to it. You're not going to be able to lean in against the
No
stock.
cheek stock weld, yeah.
A lot of that's training stuff.
Nice job coming around that door frame there.
Yeah, good tactics, I like it. Checking your corners.
Oh, this is that sight, the Tricon. Okay, the see-throughs. That's
Checking the
nice.
pistol sights, yeah.
Yeah,
Trigicon.
pretty unusual to see that, especially in the field. Anything with a glass on a pistol, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're
But
gonna be
Not
running
anymore.
around.
It's
But it's
getting
great.
pretty
Get to
common.
keep both eyes open.
Maybe
It's
not for like
fantastic
boots
when
on the
you're trying
ground
to clear
stuff,
something.
but
Any thoughts on the
higher
grip?
end, they
We
use it.
either supported from underneath or we had a
Actually, I have one on my
foregrip
carry
we
gun.
would hold onto, but now I see there's almost kind of a straight arm.
let me go grab that. So, this is my carry gun. SIG P365. Got a red dot. It's real nice. Runs good. Haven't had any issues with it. I don't have very many rounds with this gun just because I got it during the ammo shortage and got like a box through it. Just because I can't afford ammo. So, hit the... I don't know where the like button is on here. Hit that. And maybe if we get enough people subscribed and we can get monetized, that'd be cool. I can buy ammo. And hey, maybe if we start actually making money and I can afford to get a decent camera, we can do like range stuff. Because most of the guys we game with are pretty avid shooters. Tombstone, one of the guys, he's a gunsmith. A couple of the other guys are pretty good shooters. I'm kind of middle of the pack when it comes to our group. I just handle most of the YouTube stuff. And I saw the video and figured might as well do a reaction to it because it's bad. It's bad. Let's get back into this though before I show off any more of my cool.
Kind of grip out there, gripping it by the side of the barrel.
Like obviously you want to pull it in as tight as you can.
Right.
Like you don't want any gap in between your shoulder, and you want it just to be as stable as you can as you go through. So I kind of like this new grip with the 45 because it's giving you that to push against. Kind of like the handle, but not maybe as much of like a snag hazard as a 90-degree handle to the barrel.
Yeah, right.
It's not really the main benefit
110K2
of it.
showcase.
It helps.
I love that buttstock.
Yeah, that's really cool. So it's gonna be fully adjustable.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
one
would rip
does have
all
a
the
bit of a
hairs out
nice,
of my
like,
beard.
Cheek pad, although it still looks too low for that scope. Huh?
Right. That takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
Those are the grips that I would
The scope
use.
should be farther
Clear max
forward.
right in there. Yeah, I'll suppress.
Cog.
Or it was suppressed. Now it's onto a muzzle brake.
And nice
Peak
light.
15, we worked with those. I know that was something that we worked a lot with. Had the IR laser, or
Sure.
the red dot laser.
Yeah, that IR is cool.
Yeah, that's point and click.
Yeah, so if you don't know that, the IR is like, you won't be able to see that unless you're looking through the night vision goggles. So it's not like a laser where you're letting them know that, hey, we're sighting in on you, you know?
But you get the same effect, which is really neat.
Not familiar.
Actually, way better than using a real laser.
No, I have not used this.
Red
one,
lasers
sorry.
are garbage.
It looks like a version of the Uzi, but MP you'd think would be another Heckler and Koch product, but it doesn't look anything like an MP5 or 10. Huh?
Looks slick, yeah, very.
These guys are gun experts. They don't know what an MP7 is. Sorry.
Something like the SAS would use or something like that.
Yeah, more like a
Probably.
Israeli arms like version
Oh,
of the Uzi
there you
or
go,
something,
yeah.
Mac 10 or something.
Those Israelis.
Oh, custom Glock 19 showcase.
They say the Israeli
Glock's
version
mostly
of the
polymer,
Uzi?
right? Polymer on the bottom, and then
Yeah.
you got the
Did I hear that right?
something like the SAS would use or something like that.
Yeah, more like a Israeli arms like version
Oh,
of the Uzi
there
or
you go,
something,
yeah.
Mac 10 or something.
The Uzi is the Israeli version of the Uzi. Sorry.
Those Israelis.
Oh, custom Glock 19 showcase and gameplay.
Glock's mostly polymer, right? Polymer on the bottom, and then
Yeah.
you got the metal slide.
That looks like a C that's got the built-in compensator. You see that like up forward?
Up front?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not super necessary.
Necessary on a 9mm to have a compensator, especially with.
Compensators are great on pistols. If you shoot a pistol enough, you'll realize compensators are great on pistols, even if it's a 9mm. Fast follow-up shots matter.
With a suppressor like that, you know, it's not going to climb too much, but it'll be effective.
Compensator used for recoil.
It's going to keep it from climbing up, you know.
Okay, all right.
That's a big suppressor, and you know, it'll work. But then you got to have subsonic rounds. That always makes me a little nervous. Like, is this going to cycle properly with that subsonic round? If you don't have the subsonic round, it doesn't matter. Once it leaves the gun, it's still going to be making a lot of noise as it travels.
He doesn't know how suppressors work. You don't have to have subsonic rounds. You use a suppressor. I don't use subsonic rounds in my AR. It works fine. It's loud, but it's technically within hearing safe. I still wear ear pro when I shoot it because it's nice. But at the end of the day, suppressor's hearing protection. And you don't need to have subsonics to run it. Also, subsonic rounds tend to be heavier to compensate for the lower velocity. So, a 9mm subsonic will cycle just as well as a supersonic 9mm. Instead of making it fast, they made it heavy. You know, like when God made me, he made me heavy instead of fast. Then he said, subsonics, after they leave the barrel, they're still loud. With a can, not really. They're still kind of loud. But, like, I have my Competition 22 that I run, and it's a Bolt 22. When I put the can on it in subsonics, it's like a stapler. It's stupid quiet because the can gets rid of a lot of the sound from the actual explosion and the escaping gases and all that. It handles that. The other sound you hear from a gun outside of the barrel is generally a supersonic crack. If it's not supersonic, you don't get a supersonic crack. So if you eliminate both of those, a lot of the sound comes down to actually the cycling of the gun, which is quite loud on a lot of guns. Hell, even on my pistol, pretty loud. On an AR, it's considerably louder. It's not silent, but especially a suppressed single shot subsonic that doesn't have cycle automatically, it gets pretty quiet.
Have the subsonic round, it doesn't matter. Once it leaves the gun, it's still going to be making a lot of noise as it travels.
Little noise.
Checking the corners. I like it. I like it.
This is the RMR scope.
Okay.
If it
What do you
really
call
is
that, a
sturdy
scope?
enough to take in the field, it's nice. And that one's kind of a lower profile version, right? Which is, that'd be much better. Like, I'd be worried about that thing snagging up on anything. Like, how long is that gonna last?
I see myself
A
getting
while.
like a custom holster just
Yeah.
for that. 6 Sauer P320.
You should always have a custom holster.
I never owned a 6 Sauer.
So we had the 226s with us when we were in the
Tower.
Philippines with the SEAL Team 5.
All right.
That was the thing that everyone was using.
Oh, cool.
I'll tell you what was amazing about those, like, they'd swim with them. Like, swim with them fully loaded in the water. And they'd get out and they'd still work. We'd come back to the ship. They just throw them in a 50 cal ammo box, that, like the whole platoons, you know? And then next morning you open up, there's actual rust crystals growing on it. But they had some magic juice that the weapons op guy would just spray it down, let it sit overnight, and it looked like brand new the next day. It's like, how does this happen?
Sounds like some sort of
Miracle
like
technology.
naval jelly kind of something.
6 Hour P320 9
I wouldn't
millimeter
recommend
with
that.
TL1 Streamlight and RMR red dot ruggedized miniature reticle. Big brain.
They're pretty ruggedized.
That thing is definitely growing on me. That's a nice package with the light and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs the light right now.
Loadout Scar L
Always have
with
a light.
various attachments. They were just getting into the Scar as I was out processing in late 2009.
Okay,
They were
this
just starting
is
to train with
after
them.
me, so I haven't seen this one. It almost looks like a bullpup stock, but it's not, right?
Right, yeah. Very bulky looking folding stock right
I know, it's crazy. Like when that folds in, it's almost like it's gonna cover up everything.
Right.
It's
It looks like it'll be completely over the safety and
selector switch, you know? And
You're not actually supposed to use it with the stock folded. Will it function? Probably. I'm not super familiar with the Scar. Will it cycle? Probably. But that's not what it's designed for. It's designed for storage and transportation. Like, and when you're inside a Humvee, you can fold it, save a little room because they get cramped. He called it a bullpup style stock. It's not. There's nothing about this gun that looks bullpup except it's kind of curvy at the back. If that's what you think a bullpup is, then you're not an expert or specialist.
the mag release. I wonder how that works.
This is super detailed. We did a video, Escape from Tarkov, and there's a whole customization section in that game. This looks almost as detailed as that. Scar L with EOTech Voodoo optics. Ooh, Voodoo. Borealis muzzle brake and 40 round PMAG.
Did you ever see 40 round mags in this field?
Nope.
It's always 30s, right?
Yeah, always 30s. Always, that was always standard with us. Oh, it must be Marine. I see that sleeve.
That's right. I like this digital camo too. It's amazing how effective that is.
Just missed the digital camo. Oh, we're in winter time too.
It's like some voodoo science that they've done to figure out, like, okay, this weird little pixelated camouflage. I have used it playing paintball, and I have to say, like, if you're just leaning up against the tree and not moving, that stuff is great. If you can't see the white of your face, just cover up all your skin. Like, people walk right by it.
The basic idea of camo is to break
they're
up the
blind.
lines, right? So that, you know, the eye kind of looks for things that, you know.
Like, it's those little tiny squares, but somebody smarter than me figured that out. I would have thought, like, oh, your brain would recognize, like, there's not so many 90-degree patterns in nature, but it totally
distance,
works.
it blurs.
So, like, whoever figured that out, hats off. He's
Pretty simple.
Smarter than me.
Didn't you see the karambit in his hand? I'm so glad that I got to do the majority of my weapons appreciation in the military when I was being paid to do this, because firearms, it seems like an expensive hobby, man. There's all these
Ammo, like if you want to be good,
Oh my
They're
God.
right.
I mean, holy God.
thousands of rounds and
I
thousands
know.
of wow, 40 round mag.
Like I read SEAL Team 6, you know, those guys are shooting like 100 rounds a day, every day, just to get started.
100,000 rounds, yeah, yeah.
100 rounds?
Ammo's expensive.
You ever do
That's
what
a
we
light
call a
day.
stability drill, where you take a full magazine and
Okay.
you put it on full auto and you try to hold it on the target with one trigger squeeze. You just try to hold it down.
Yes,
and
I,
try to,
I have done that, and it's, you walk. you
yeah,
know?
yeah. That's when you're trying to get rid of ammo at the end of the day.
That's right.
You don't want to turn it
You
in.
don't, yeah, exactly.
That's not a very
Like,
effective drill.
I have had that experience where
That's called an
we
ammo
were
dump,
shooting
and
so
every
long
redneck at the
coming
range
back into
will do it.
Guam. We were trying to shoot off all the ammo, but at the end, they're just throwing, throwing ammo over the side. Like, we really don't want to have to inventory this when we get back. This was in the 90s long time.
Weaponsmith, AR-15,
let me
10.5 inch barrel, .300 blackout ammunition, Daniel Defense stock, Maul C1 combo laser and light, Giselle charging handle, Magpul MOE, rear grip, Giselle 10-inch barrel strap. Go.
10.5-inch barrel and a 10-inch. So he's only got like a half inch of barrel sticking out past the grip.
Wow.
You know? That looks like longer than 10, but that's cool. So if that's a 5.56, that's pretty short. You know, it's a nearly pistol. It would definitely not be legal for civilian use. You know, 10.5-inch barrel,
yeah.
unless it was a pistol. But then it can't have the buttstock on it. You know.
Norm won it. Cost $200 and fill out a background check, all that shit. Ain't nothing but a thing. These guys don't know what 300 blackout is.
That's that light laser combination. So he's gonna have like on the grip somewhere to turn that on, probably like a pressure pad. So it's just iron sights though. Like I can't.
40-round magazine. You just mount that on something. Don't do that. Don't. You get a misfeed.
And you don't want to pull on it either to
You'll
pull
be
it
fine.
into your shoulder.
No.
Same thing.
Giselle charging
Most of
handle,
the time you'll be
different
fine.
model.
It's pretty rare that you need to actually use the charging handle though. That's just when you're getting started. Because if you're in the field, right, you're going to eject the magazine, drop it, and then just drop the slide again. You don't have to charge it.
You empty that, you drop the source of feed, you pull the charging handle back to lock the bolt back, load it in there, and then boom, you let it slide forward, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. You don't need to charge it every
That
time
looked
you change the
difficult for
magazine.
him to
Just drop
remember.
it. It's really just a clear around that might have failed you know,
Right.
to get it out. But so there's a little bit of a trade-off. You get that extra
That's
big
not what
one,
a
it's
charging
easier to do, but then it's easier to hang up on something
Could
too.
be, yeah.
You know?
Yep. Glock 17 P80 in loadout / Weaponsmith.
Not
Glock
sure what a
17,
P80
is that
is.
the standard?
Oh,
law
polymer
enforcement?
80?
Yeah, I've got one, 9mm, 17-round mag. It's fairly indestructible. I read it cost Glock $50 to make that, and they sell them like the base price is $550, and you're lucky if you can get one new for $550.
Oh my goodness.
It's a good return, I guess.
That
Austrian. Of course.
As far as I know,
US
none of what he
now,
just
but
said is
it's the Austrian design.
Look at that light just sticking off the bottom there.
that's a dumb light for that
So you
gun.
probably got another 3 in there?
It has
So
a
that
button
bring it
on
to
the
20
back,
rounds?
right where the
It's a lot
trigger
for
guard
a
is.
pistol,
M4A1 Block 2 with ACSS ACOG optics with canted RMR. Oh, canted. Okay. KAC NT4 suppressor. TD stubby foregrip. M203 grenade launcher. Yeah. 40-round PMag.
That's a lot of
That's a lot of
gear
stuff.
on,
a heavy
on one
gun.
platform. Oh yeah, it's humongous.
Oh my gosh, they got it all on there.
It's heavy. Yeah.
This is Ripley going into the Queen's lair at the end of the movie.
Those 40mm grenades are heavy too. Like,
40 Mike?
Total, yeah. Toting those around. They're fun though.
I messed with those a little bit in training, but I never actually went out on a mission with one. We were always in an urban environment. I don't think there was ever the thought that we would need anything like that in close quarters and stuff like that.
Well, we still had the old one too. I think it was the M79, which is just a
M79.
single shot, you
Breech
know, which was
loaded,
great.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so we had
Okay,
both
boomer.
like in the field. It was good. Like some guys like one, some guys like the other. But God, those guys are having a rough day.
Yeah.
General impressions first. That's a long way from Half-Life 2, you know.
That's right. Yes. My last first-person shooter. I used to play a lot of Counter-Strike, and it's come a long way since then. I was super impressed with the realism of the game, and I can't believe the detail on the mods. Like, there's so many options out there, and they've done a really interesting job of putting together different systems with the available aftermarket stuff out there.
Yeah, really crisp and clear. Too many mods for me to wrap my brain around. I can imagine those
Obviously.
weapons weighing a lot, you know, with all those ACOGs and M203s attached. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this first episode of Total Recoil. Leave a comment below and let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes of Total Recoil. Who knows where we could be next. And if you'd like to see more content like
I'd
this,
like to
go
see
Game
new
Launch's
hosts.
Facebook and YouTube page.
Have you ever watched a car wreck in slow motion? That's what just happened. Like, there are some really bad takes out there in GunTube. This was up there. This was a bunch of people that, like, or two people that thought they knew what they were talking about going in, and then at least they recognized how little they don't, or how little they know. Because, holy shit. these guys have obviously never messed with guns in the civilian world. Never messed with any kind of modifications. And just, they don't know what they're talking about. Gameology, if you're going to continue this series, find actual gun experts. Look at GunTube. Look at In Range. See an Arsenal. See an Arsenal doesn't really mess with this kind of stuff much, but Othias is a genius. I mean, just get Ian or Carl. The guys from Tundra Tactical. Oh, I want Tundra Tactical to do a reaction to this. They'd be so much more qualified than me. If you see this Tundra Tactical, I love y'all. Y'all are hilarious. Y'all won't see this. But, yeah, they just need better hosts. Or they need someone that actually knows what they're talking about. Get a competition shooter. Or, dude, honestly, some dude who lives in his mom's basement and spends his whole Pizza Hut paycheck on guns. That guy is the guy you want hosting this. Do better. Just do better. Alright. Thank y'all for joining me through this hellhole. This was rough. I know this isn't what I normally do. If you like it, let me know. If you want to see more of stuff like this, let me know. This isn't really what this channel was designed for, but I'm adaptable. We can always transition, do a little bit of more variety. But, yeah. Thanks for staying to the end. You're awesome.